Hey everybody, this is Marcus Norman from Gentleman Style Podcast Show. You're hosting an incredible podcast coming to you live. And today, you all are in for round 2 of a fabulous guest. My friend coming to the stage. You won't want to miss any part of this show. He's a phenomenal speaker, world-renowned sales expert. He teaches, and before COVID-19, he taught this. So you won't want to miss 1 second of this incredible man. Stay tuned, stay with us, stay engaged as we proceed. Here we go. Hey everybody, it's your boy Marcus Norman from Gentleman Style Podcast Show, and today we have Andy Jacob, founder and CEO of the Jacob Group and several other business ventures. This man is bringing more than 20 years of executive experience founding and leading startups and high growth companies. Mr. Jacob is a pioneer in the fields of consumer finance, online customer acquisition, and consumer monetization. Mr. Jacob has been seen as a guest on financial expert shows like CBS, ABC, NBC, Time Warner, and Bloomberg. So help me welcome to the stage the incredible, the amazing Mr. Andy Jacobs. Welcome to the show, brother. Thank you for coming on and thank you for joining Gentleman Style Podcast Show today. Thank you, Mr. Andy.
Marcus, I am so delighted to be here. I can't even tell you. I've been waiting on pins and needles to come on the show. What you're doing with your podcast is absolutely remarkable. I love the whole idea of God, family, finance, and self. You have so many super high profile people coming on the show that are giving such great wisdom to your listeners and your clients. It's absolutely remarkable to be counted as one of the people that you're interviewing. And I just want to thank you so much, Marcus, for doing such great work in the communities that you serve and for allowing me to be on the show. It's really an honor.
Absolutely. It's an honor to have you. Give him a round of another applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Andy, sir. So diving right in, one of the things my audience has been craving for that we need is there are habits that successful people do every single day, day in, day out, and they're very, very consistent. What's one thing that you do every day, whether it be yoga, meditation, a glass of water, or prayer? What is it that you do every day that has added success and added tremendous value to the start and the rest of your day?
Well, Marcus, I basically just do whatever my wife tells me I'm going to do, and that's how I do my day. There we go. So Marcus, I end the day the same way that I started. I do pray. I am very blessed and know that I am. And when I end my day, I think about my day. I think about also the next day and what I'm going to plan to do the next day. Because I think if you start the night before, it gives you a nice jump start on your following day. And then when I wake up in the morning, I'm ready to go. One thing also, Marcus, that I started during COVID that's been very beneficial is I started meditating, and I love it so much. There are so many applications online that you can use. And, entrepreneurs like us and the entrepreneurs watching the show, it's a stress-filled world. It's a stress-filled sort of occupation that we've decided to get underneath. And when I mean underneath, I mean an entrepreneur, you're underneath your business. You're underneath the car, and you're working the engine, and you're working on the tires, and you're working on the axles, and you're making sure the thing's rolling and getting to the destination. So what you need to do is, you don't want to get so stressed out that you can't keep moving forward. So I've done that very effectively in my life. And the one thing that I do every single day is I say that I'm blessed. I move forward with gratitude. And I just love the fact that I get to speak to so many talented people and, of course, talk to people like you that are making such a difference in the world. I can't even tell you, Marcus, how important your show is.
Thank you. Thank you. That's huge. So there you have it, y'all. Right here, right now, Mr. Andy Jacob just said the morning routine. His wife, prayer, and meditation. So there it is. These are the habits of successful people. And Mr. Andy Jacob is very, very phenomenal. He's an incredible man. I had the unique pleasure and honor of being on his .com magazine show. It's a phenomenal brand. It's a phenomenal show. And him, Mr. Jacob, his sales strategies are leading companies in the, I want to say it right here publicly. His company is helping businesses survive. I'll say it, right? No one else will say survive this pandemic with his proven sales strategies. And Mr. Andy here is here on the Gentleman Style Podcast Show to share some of those tips and tricks. I don't want to say tricks, but tips and strategies that he teaches too. So, Mr. Jacob, diving right into it, right to the knee deep thing. You're the man of a million great stories. I want to say that. And your stories, I've read your bio and it's a page long. One of the stories that fascinates me, one of the lessons that you teach to, that you speak to, is how 4 key words can dramatically change your career, your closing percentages, and your business growth. Can you tell us what can you break that down? What are the 4 words that businesses need to incorporate today?
I can do it. I can do it.
I can do it.
So, Marcus, when we talk to entrepreneurs, so many people are raised in a can't do environment. And what I mean by that is they're raised with people telling them they can't do this, they can't do that. No, you can't. I have an idea. I want to start something. No, you can't do that. I want to start a lemonade stand when I'm 14 years old. No, you can't do that. I have an idea for a new business. No, you can't do that. I call those people that continually tell people they can't do things dream stealers. And I think in our day and age, especially parents watching the show, the biggest thing that you can teach your children is the I can do it mentality. Whether you say you can do something or you can't do something, you're right. And I want to teach young people and fellow entrepreneurs the fact that you can do it. If you come across someone that says can't this, can't that, you can't, you're not able, you're not up to it, you don't have the education, you don't have the background, you don't have the money, you don't have the experience, those are just dream stealers. And the one thing about dream stealers, I'll say that is a positive, because we try and turn everything on its positive end, of course, Marcus, as you do all the time on the podcast, is when someone tells you you can't do something or they try and steal your dreams, just say to yourself, I'm going to prove you wrong. And now I've got the gasoline for my engine because you doubted my ability to go get it done. So I can do it are 4 words that every entrepreneur needs to think about. That's the mentality that they want. That's the mentality that you want. And more importantly than that, if you have children or young folks around you, teach them the can-do attitude, because it's going to go a long way in their lives.
Yes. I needed that. I needed to hear that. And that's so powerful, right? The world thrives off of negativity. The world we live in, the news, the media can't sell without negativity. So changing the mindset, it all starts here, right? Look at the incredible think on Mr. Andy. Mr. Andy is a gentleman and a scholar, and he is the mindset that he just shifted, right? And this isn't difficult, right? It's not hard to do, but it's an obstacle and it's a barrier that we all can relate to and that we all face. And Mr. Andy is breaking it down here today on Gentleman Style Podcast Show. That is powerful. Mr. Andy, thank you for that, right? One of the sales strategies, and I love this dialogue because your wife that you alluded to earlier, you learned this through your wife, and it's the medicine cabinet business strategy. Can you speak to that strategy? Because I absolutely love that strategy. It's mind blowing. Can you talk to that, please?
Yeah, Marcus, it's super interesting. As entrepreneurs and all the wonderful entrepreneurs that watch your show and get great advice and feedback and wonderful knowledge from the great group of guests that you've been able to invite on, and I feel very fortunate and blessed that I've been included on your podcast, obviously, is one thing about entrepreneurship is we get so close to our business, oftentimes we don't see things that we should see. We miss things. And the example is the medicine cabinet principle. That's what I call it. And so just pretend I wake up in the morning with a splitting headache and I go to the medicine cabinet and I open up the medicine cabinet and I'm looking for my aspirin and I don't see the aspirin. So I say to my wife, hey, honey, where's the aspirin? And she says, well, it's in the medicine cabinet. So I go back to the medicine cabinet a second time. I open up the medicine cabinet, look for the aspirin. I don't see it. Close the medicine cabinet. Honey, where's the aspirin? I've got a splitting headache. And she says, honey, it's in the medicine cabinet. I open it up a third time. I still don't see it. I close the door. I get a little, my head's hurting a little bit. I said, honey, please, I really need the aspirin. Where is the aspirin? And my wife walks over. She opens up the medicine cabinet, and there is the aspirin right in the middle of the medicine cabinet. Well, why didn't I see it 4 times? The reason is because I was too close to it. I was looking for it so intensely that I missed it completely. And Marcus, that's what happened to entrepreneurs. They're so close to their business sometimes that they miss the most apparent things that can make the biggest difference. That's why it makes sense for entrepreneurs and business owners to bring someone in from the outside. It could be a mentor, it could be a consultant, it could be an aunt or an uncle or a wife or a husband or anyone else, a boyfriend or a girlfriend that has a good mind about them, that sees things. Have them come in, explain to them what's going on in the business, and see if they can point out some things to you that you're missing because you're just too close to the business.
Wow. I love that. And the reason why that's powerful, y'all, and the reason why Mr. Jacob, I needed him to share that again, because he previously discussed that, and he shares that, and he does that in his seminars and the workshops that he does. But that is a powerful topic, because a lot of times, and people even ask me, Marcus, how are you able to do all of these different things? I am in school. I work a 9 to 5. I host a podcast. I invest in real estate. I have a lending business. I have an ATM business. How am I able to do all of these things? And the reason why I took his advice. I took Mr. Andy's advice because I removed myself, and I'm not afraid to outsource. I'm not afraid to have someone else who enjoys this thing or enjoys this part of the business to step in. And so we as CEOs, just like he mentioned earlier, right? As CEOs, we're underneath the hood of our car. We're working on the engine. We're changing the oil. We're changing tires. We're too close to the business. And sometimes we need to step back and let the mechanic who enjoys what he does, who's paid to do it, and is the expert and will find it a lot quicker, find that medicine in the cabinet a lot faster than I could. So round of applause for Mr. Jacobs again. We need what he's teaching. Powerful. We have one quick commercial break. We'll be right back. You guys stay tuned. Stay with us. We'll be right back with the incredible Mr. Andy Jacobs. Good day, podcast listeners. This is your boy, Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show. I wanted to let you guys know that we will be rolling out a new feature and adding a join sponsor button next to the subscriber button here at the bottom of your screen. Once you click the button, it will display 3 membership levels. Gentleman Gentry, which is our entry level, Duke Duchess, which is our season level, and the Emperor and Empress, which is our most sophisticated level, which you will receive unique perks and benefits at each differing level and gain access to our community tab. We will also be sharing polls, upcoming events, and interviews, as well as receive feedback from our sponsors directly. Your support helps me find new and exciting guests to bring to the stage live. Well, in order to get the higher end speakers, it requires, you guessed it, money. So thank you for tuning in to my channel. And if becoming a sponsor sounds good to you, then select the join button below and choose your desired sponsor level. Let's continue to grow and serve the future of generations of men and women to come. Love you guys. Bye. Hey everybody, we are back with the Gentleman Style Podcast Show. We have the incredible, amazing, the super fragilistic expialidocious Mr. Andy Jacobs. And he is here today to teach us how to do better business. And one of the ways, he just broke it down, one of the ways is through taking the focus off of us and putting the expert, because we are too close to the business sometimes. And also how some of his strategies have propelled businesses through this pandemic and through the future. So Mr. Andy, I love that story. One of the unique things I've learned about you is you talk about this in your workshops as well, that how a man chasing me with a gun can teach me about the value of persistence. Tell me, how is it someone chasing me with a gun can teach me how to be very persistent?
Again, Marcus, thank you so much for having me on the show. That's a story, and I have a lot of stories. I'm actually writing a book. It's called, the working title is 100 Lessons, Tales from a Serial Entrepreneur. I hope to have it out here in a few months. I'm almost done with it. But as you know, writing a book takes some time, especially if you write like I do, which, I can write maybe, a page or two a day. But many, many years ago, I sold Craftmatic adjustable beds, and I went door to door. And I sold beds. And at 25, 26 years old, I became one of the leading Craftmatic adjustable bed salespeople in the United States. I would go door to door and I would sell Craftmatic adjustable beds, which are beds that adjust for people with health problems. So I drove about an hour to go to an appointment, and I walked up to the front door with my briefcase. I had a shirt and a tie on, and I was walking up the front door. The gentleman opened up the door and he said to me, "Are you here from Craftmatic adjustable beds?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I am. And I've got some great news for you. I've got some great things to show you today." Boom, he slammed the door right on my face. Well, I had just driven an hour to sell this person something that was going to benefit him in his health. So I went around the back door and I knocked on the back door of the house, and the same guy came to the door. And I said, "Excuse me, I don't know if you know the son of a gun that slammed the door on me at the front of the house, but I'm here to sell a Craftmatic adjustable bed." And he ran into his house and grabbed his shotgun and he chased me down the street. So what I learned from that is you're not always going to get chased with a shotgun, but persistence and determination really reigns supreme and is omnipotent. And Marcus, when we talk about persistence, I like to say that everybody needs a Dennis Rodman. Back when the Detroit Pistons had their great run, and of course the Bulls had their run as well, the thing that, both Michael Jordan and Isaiah Thomas had was one very important thing. They had Dennis Rodman, and Dennis really made both of those teams what the team became, whether it was, Pippen and Jordan or Isaiah and Lambeer and Dumars. They had Dennis Rodman. And the thing about Dennis Rodman kind of goes along with this story. He was very persistent and very determined at all times. What he did off the court was another story, but when he got on the court, the superstars knew that he was going to be very persistent and very determined and predictable. He was going to do his job and do it well. So for the entrepreneurs watching the show, it's very important to be persistent, and it's very important to be dedicated to the task at hand. And it's very important to keep on pushing. So knock on those doors, if you get the front door knocking and they close the door on you, go around to the back door and knock again and keep on going till people say yes.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. And that's huge, right? And that's major, because a lot of times, one of the things I've always learned in sales is I give up. People, me, give up too soon. right? And there's a funny illustration where it's two gentlemen, one above the other, and they're mining and they're drilling. And on the other end of that coal mine is diamonds and jewelry and gold. And there's one of the gentlemen gives up right when he was about to break through. And so persistence is everything. The one of my proudest achievements, I don't have wealth, I don't have money, but one of the things that has led to my success, and people always notice it, is that I am very consistent. So consistent goes with persistence, right? I am dedicated to the cause. I don't start anything that I don't intend to finish. So that's huge. So thank you, Mr. Jacob, for telling that. That's huge. And Dennis Rodman, I didn't know that about the Dennis the Bulls and the relationship with that. But now that you said it, it stood out to me and it makes perfect sense. So I'm taking notes, y'all. I'm taking notes right now because I need to incorporate all of this into my business so I can grow, because we're still in a pandemic, right? We're still in a pandemic. So thank you for that. Mr. Jacobs. That's huge. You have two things that you speak to, and it's unique because it caught me off guard. Is that how can a bad salesperson, I consider myself a good salesperson, but how can a bad salesperson with one secret outsell me 80% of the time?
I love it. I love it. So, we talk about sales so often, and there's so many people that say to themselves, oh, I can't sell. I don't know how to sell. I'm not a good salesperson. And really, back in the old days, there used to be books out about sort of the secrets of sales and how to manipulate people and how to get them to say yes when they don't want to say yes. And in today's world, selling is a completely different animal. It's completely different in every single way that you can, because in today's world, selling is really a love fest. So if you can love your client, and I don't mean, the kind of love that you have for your,
Spouse,
your wife or your husband, but if you can love your client and know that they're the people that are really trusting you to give them what they need, and trust in your product or service, and show your appreciation to them like you would with anyone that you love, showing appreciation. That's really the key to success. And the other key that's very important, it reminds me of a story of a barbecue restaurant I went to in Brooklyn, New York, right before the pandemic, November before the pandemic, and it's called Izzy's. And it's in Brooklyn, and it's a little tiny joint of a restaurant. And I went there for a birthday party. I was invited to New York to go to a 50th birthday party, and then we went to Izzy's afterward. And I walked into the restaurant, and I said to myself, this is just, maybe I'm in the wrong place. This can't be the right place where all these people are coming to get food, because it looks like it just wouldn't have great food. My perception was that it just wasn't great walking in, because it had tables scattered around and it just didn't look like a high-end type of a place. But right. I'll tell you what, they put us all in a little room next door, Marcus, and they started bringing out the barbecue beef. It was absolutely, hands down, the best food I've ever eaten in my life. And there was about 30 people around that table, and we went crazy. We were ordering multiple appetizers, 3 to 4 entrees each. It was the greatest food you could ever imagine. So you have to remember also, as a salesperson, never to prejudge your clients. I prejudged Izzy's walking in because I thought it wasn't going to be great, but then they delivered. So as a salesperson, what's very important, as you know, is that you have to deliver. You have to deliver something, Marcus, to your clients that they're going to love. And you're going to love them for buying from you. And then what's going to happen is they're going to know that they bought something that's great for them. They're going to tell 10 friends, family members, coworkers about your business or service. They're going to go online and give you a great review. And then that's how people that don't think they can sell actually can outsell a lot of other salespeople, because they just have this mentality that they're going to go in and show this love for their product and show this love for their clients in a way that just cannot be beat.
Wow. This is what I told you guys about. This is Mr. Andy Jacobs. This is the man, the myth, the legend. Here today on Gentleman Style Podcast, spilling all the tea. One more round of applause for Mr. Jacobs, y'all. This is huge, right? So persistence, he just broke it down. Persistence, but also realize that having the can-do attitude, it starts there, it starts up here. Having that can-do mentality and changing your business mindset, having persistence, staying with it, staying to the very end, and avoid the shotguns at all costs, but staying engaged to the very end. But then one of the last point he just made is realizing that you can't prejudge your client. You can't assume that, oh, he's not gonna. I used to do that. I'm guilty. I'm gonna raise my hand on this. I used to do that. My very first job, I was a bagger in a grocery store, and as a bagger, they teach you to kind of look for the people that look like they have money, because I was strictly off of tips, which in today's day, that would be commission. That was my commission. And so I would assume that, oh, that person has on a gold watch. He has on jewelry. He drives a nice car. So he must be tipping well. So thank you. If anything else, I needed to hear that. My audience needed to hear that we cannot prejudge and once we get over that, once we realize that every opportunity, every customer is an opportunity to make a sale, we'll outsell 80% of the times. And that's the secret that he spoke to that. So thank you again for that, Mr. Andy. It's huge. Huge. Mr. Andy, you are a wealth of knowledge, and I wish I could keep you, but you have a business to run. You have several businesses to run. What advice would you give to the young man? Any golden nuggets that you want to give to anything that I didn't ask you that you want to just put out there as a final tip to my audience?
Well, yeah, I think as a final tip, it's very important to be great. You can't be average in this world anymore. You have to deliver, and you have to deliver more than what's expected. Many years ago, I had some back problems, Marcus, and I went to a chiropractor, and he bills himself as the $25 chiropractor. He's in the Phoenix area. He's got 150, 200 5-star reviews. And I said to myself, there's no way this guy is that good. I mean, these reviews can't be real. This can't be a legitimate deal for $25. But I took the chance. I went down there. His name is Dr. Troy. He's become a friend of mine. I laid on his table, and I'm telling you, it was instantaneous relief. He is a miracle worker. So here's a guy that charges $25 for a chiropractic adjustment. He's got 150, 200 5-star reviews. Everybody raves about him. He's helped me in my own life. And here's a guy that's great every single day in his service. So for young entrepreneurs, older entrepreneurs, anybody watching the show, whatever you're doing, whether you're in the media business, the real estate business, I know you have a lot of investors and a lot of flippers that watch the show, be great at what you do. Don't be a B, don't be a C, don't be a B plus or even an A minus. Be an A. Be an A all the time, and you're going to win.
I need that. That's it. I wish I could give you my microphone so you could drop it. That was absolutely powerful. And that's what we need, right? Be great all the time. Too many times, just, oh my gosh. The beauty of this show is because it's my show, I get to take notes. And so I get to go back and watch this 100 million times and learn. And every time I watch Mr. Andy, every time I connect with him, every time we email, we correspond, I always learn and I grow and I develop. He inspires me. Mr. Andy, I appreciate that nugget that you just left us with. And that's phenomenal. How can my audience connect with you? How can we grow with you? How can we support you and just learn more from you?
Marcus, I'm always available for questions. You can go to my website. It's an easy one, andyjacob.com. Or you can, of course, go to .com magazine as well. I think you're going to put some links up, and that's not a problem. But I just wanted to let you know, Marcus, that I appreciate so much what you've done with your podcast. I mean, I've watched this podcast from the beginning, and it's absolutely inspiring. I know that you're really committed to changing the world and making our entire world a much better place for entrepreneurs and bringing about amazing change for the positive. And you're to be exalted, and you're really to be followed as a leader because you've got so much going on. You're really what I would call the 2021 or the 21st century man. You've got so much going on in your life, and you're able to juggle it all in such a beautiful way. I know that your family and your business are things that are very passionate to you. And again, I just want to thank you so much for having the you can do it mentality. You're an inspiration. And the more people in this world that we have thinking like you and I believe the more light we'll be able to bring into the world to overcome the darkness that seems to be everywhere you turn and make the world even a much better and more beautiful place than what it already is.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. You honor me so much tremendously. That is major. We are out of time. And so I want to say from me to you, Mr. Andy, thank you for what you do. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to give back in this way. This is phenomenal. This was impactful, and I appreciate you very, very much. I want to say this to you publicly. Don't ever quit, right? Don't ever stop. Don't ever quit, because the world needs you. The world needs what you're doing and what the Jacob Group and .com magazine is doing. You are changing one household, one family at a time, and that is necessary. And so for my audience, I also want to say to you guys, thank you for tuning in. I hope this message has served you, and I hope this was helpful. I hope this was inspiring. It definitely inspired me and motivated me to take action. I mentioned a whole bunch of stuff that I do earlier on, and now I'm passionate, I'm fired up, and now I'm ready to go take on the world. So thank you, Mr. Andy. This is huge. Like I end every show, take care of your family, take care of business. This is Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show and Mr. Andy Jacob, CEO, founder of .com magazine and the Jacob Group. Love you guys. Bye.